The reluctant gift. The first transmission came on a rainy Thursday morning in October. Dr. Elena Rice was halfway through her second cup of coffee when every screen in her laboratory at the Cambridge Quantum Research Center flickered simultaneously. The message appeared in clean, precise lettering across all of them. We come in peace. We bring knowledge. Prepare for contact. Within hours, 17 identical obsidian vessels appeared in Earth's atmosphere, hovering silently over major cities across the globe. No engines, no exhaust, no sound. They simply existed where moments before there had been only sky. The world collectively held its breath. Military jets scrambled worldwide but maintained distance as ordered. News channels abandoned regular programming. Religious leaders called for calm. Markets crashed, then froze, and humanity waited. Elena watched the Cambridge vessel from her laboratory roof, rain plastering her dark hair to her face. At 42, she had spent her career challenging established quantum theory, earning both respect and skepticism from her peers. Now, as she studied the perfect blackness of the ship, so black it seemed to consume light rather than reflect it, she felt a strange certainty that everything she had theorized about quantum mechanics was about to be validated or completely overturned. Dr. Rice. A young assistant appeared at her side, breathless. The Prime Minister's office is calling. They're assembling a contact team. They'd want you. 24 hours later, Elena stood with 11 other scientists and diplomats in an empty field outside Cambridge, watching as a section of the obsidian ship melted away. 3 figures emerged. They called themselves the Galactic Concordat, 23 spacefaring species united by shared principles of cooperative development. The representatives stood nearly 7 feet tall with elongated limbs and skin that shifted subtly between shades of blue. Their faces contained too many eyes arranged in patterns that made human observers slightly dizzy. We have watched Earth for 217 of your years, announced the tallest alien, who introduced itself as Nexus Diplomat Valerian. Its voice emerged not from its body, but from a small hovering device that translated its thoughts directly. Your species has reached the developmental threshold for contact. What followed was 3 days of talks broadcast worldwide. The aliens spoke of galactic politics, of trade agreements, of cultural exchange, all the expected topics of first contact. But on the 4th day, they revealed their true purpose. We bring the gift, Valerian announced as the world watched, as is tradition for all species entering the Concordat. From the underside of the Cambridge vessel, a smaller ship emerged. Unlike the perfect obsidian of the larger craft, this vessel was dull gray, with visible seams and what appeared to be conventional thrusters. It looked almost disappointingly ordinary. This is the Stellar Wayfinder, a basic introductory vessel for emerging civilizations, Valerian explained. Master its systems, and you prove your readiness for deeper integration with the Concordat. Elena, who had been quiet during most of the diplomatic exchanges, stepped forward. And if we improve it? She asked. The question caused a ripple among the alien delegation, a subtle shift in skin tone that the human delegation had learned indicated surprise or discomfort. The vessel is suited to your current technological capacity, Valerian replied after a pause. Learning its operation will be challenge enough. Something in the alien's tone triggered Elena's scientific instincts. She had spent her career being told what was and wasn't possible. She recognized condescension across species. The Wayfinder was relocated to a hastily constructed research facility. 50 of Earth's top scientists were assigned to the project, with Elena appointed to lead the physics team. Their mandate: understand and operate the alien vessel. From the beginning, something felt off. The ship's systems were indeed unfamiliar, but they weren't particularly complex. The propulsion mechanisms, while using principles unknown to Earth science, seemed strangely limited. The navigation computers contained star charts, but operated with processing speeds that seemed only marginally better than Earth's best supercomputers. This isn't their best technology, Elena confided to her colleague Dr. Aiden Chen, a propulsion specialist who had worked with her on several controversial papers. This is their equivalent of a rowboat. 2 weeks into the study, Elena noticed something else. The Concordat observers who monitored their progress exhibited subtle signs of amusement whenever the human researchers expressed excitement over some discovery about the ship's systems. "They're laughing at us," she told Aiden that evening as they reviewed data in her private office. "They've given us their junk technology, and they're watching us fumble with it like it's some great gift." Aiden frowned, studying the propulsion readings on his tablet. "There's something else bothering me. These systems have limitations built into them. Look here." He pointed to a sequence in the energy conversion matrix. "This equation deliberately introduces inefficiency. It's not natural. It's by design." Elena's eyes narrowed as she observed the pattern. "You're right. It's like they've put governors on everything. The question is why." That night, Elena couldn't sleep. She kept thinking about the subtle condescension in Valerian's tone, the amusement of the observers, the deliberately limited technology. At 3 a.m., she made a decision. The next morning, she approached the project director, a stern bureaucrat named Wallace who had been appointed by a committee of world governments. "I need to form a second team," she said without preamble. "A private group working in parallel with the main research effort, but pursuing alternative approaches." Wallace looked skeptical. "Alternative how?" "I believe the Concordat has given us intentionally limited technology. I want to understand why, and see what happens when we remove those limitations." Wallace removed his glasses, pinching the bridge of his nose. "You're suggesting we tamper with the only piece of alien technology we've been given, against their explicit instructions." "I'm suggesting we do what humans have always done. Understand things by taking them apart and putting them back together better." Elena leaned forward. "They're testing us, Wallace, but I don't think it's the test they're telling us it is." After 3 hours of debate, Wallace reluctantly agreed, with conditions. The secondary team would be small, their work compartmentalized from the main research effort, and Elena would personally take responsibility for any consequences. 2 days later, Elena's secret team convened in a separate facility beneath the main research center. She had chosen carefully: Aiden for propulsion, Dr. Maya Wong for computational systems, Dr. Leonid Volkov for materials science, and Kai Okafor, a brilliant postdoctoral student whose unorthodox approach to quantum mathematics had caught Elena's attention years ago. The official team will continue normal research and keep the Concordat observers occupied, Elena explained. "Meanwhile, we're going to understand what this ship is really capable of, and why they've limited it." Kai raised a hand. "What if the limitations are safety features? What if removing them is dangerous?" Elena nodded, appreciating the question. "That's possible. But I've been studying the Concordat representatives. They don't respect us. They see us as primitives. This." She gestured at the holographic model of the Wayfinder floating above the table. "It's the equivalent of giving a calculator to a child and being impressed when they learn to add. So we show them we can do calculus instead," Maya said with a slight smile. "Exactly." For the next month, Elena's team worked around the clock. The official research team made steady, predictable progress, dutifully reporting each minor discovery to the increasingly bored Concordat observers. Meanwhile, below ground, Elena's team was making breakthroughs that would have shocked their alien visitors. Maya was the first to crack the ship's operating system, discovering layers of code designed to prevent certain functions. "It's like they've put child locks on everything," she reported one night, her eyes red from lack of sleep. "But the underlying capabilities are far beyond what they're letting us access." Leonid made the next breakthrough, analyzing the ship's hull material. "This isn't just metal," he explained, showing microscopic scans to the team. "It's a programmable matter lattice. The whole ship can reconfigure itself at the molecular level. But there's a governor system preventing it." With each discovery, the picture became clearer. The Wayfinder wasn't a primitive vessel. It was an advanced ship with artificial constraints. The most significant revelation came when Aiden and Kai began unraveling the propulsion system. What they found made Alina's heart race. The energy core operated on principles that aligned perfectly with her controversial theories about quantum field manipulation. "It's a quantum fold drive," she whispered when they showed her the equations. "But they've limited it to function like a conventional thruster." "What's a quantum fold drive?" Kai asked. Alina's eyes gleamed. "Something that shouldn't be possible according to conventional physics. Something I've been theorizing about for 15 years while being told I was wasting my career." She stood, staring at the equations floating in the holographic display. "They've given us a Ferrari with a governor that makes it run like a golf cart." "But why?" Maya asked. "Why give us advanced technology and then cripple it?" Alina's expression hardened. "Because they're afraid of what we might do with it, or because they don't believe we're capable of understanding its true potential." She looked around at her team. "Let's prove them wrong." As the official research team reported steady but unremarkable progress to the increasingly inattentive Concordat observers, Alina's group began the delicate process of removing the limitations built into the Wayfinder systems. They worked methodically, careful not to trigger any alarms or failsafes the aliens might have installed. 2 months after the Wayfinder's arrival on Earth, Alina's team was ready for their first test. They had constructed a perfect replica of the ship's quantum core in their underground lab, modified to bypass the artificial constraints. "Simulation complete," Maya announced as the final test run finished with perfect results. "The model suggests we can achieve at least 300% of the designed energy output." Alina nodded. "Let's run the real test tonight. No observers, minimal staff." At midnight, with only the 5 team members present, they activated the modified core. For a moment, nothing happened. Then, a soft blue glow began to emanate from the device, something never seen in the official tests. Energy levels at 150% of Concordat specifications, Aiden reported, his voice tense with excitement. 200%, 250%. At 275%, strange patterns began to form in the air around the core, shifting geometries that seemed to exist in more dimensions than the human eye could process. "This is it," Alina whispered. "This is what they didn't want us to see." As the energy level passed 300%, a shimmering field expanded outward from the core, enveloping the team. For 3 seconds, Alina felt as if her consciousness was simultaneously everywhere and nowhere, as if the very fabric of reality had become malleable. Then the field collapsed, and the core returned to its normal state. The team stood in stunned silence, processing what they had witnessed. Finally, Kai spoke. "We just did something the Concordat thinks is impossible, didn't we?" Alina nodded slowly, a smile spreading across her face. "We just removed the training wheels they never expected us to notice." She looked around at her team, seeing the same determination reflected in their eyes. "And we're just getting started." Neither Alina nor her team noticed the small monitoring device hidden in the corner of their lab, or the urgent signal it was now sending to the Concordat vessel in orbit. Breaking the cage. The morning after their successful test, Alina arrived at the facility to find 2 Concordat observers waiting in her office. Though their alien features were difficult for humans to read, she sensed an unmistakable tension in their posture. "Dr. Reyes," the taller one began, its voice translator pitched slightly higher than normal. "Our monitoring systems detected an unusual energy signature from this facility last night. Would you care to explain?" Alina had prepared for this possibility. "We're running standard diagnostic tests on our equipment," she replied smoothly. "Earth's power grid sometimes causes interference with your technology." The observers exchanged a look that Alina couldn't interpret, but their skin tones shifted to a deeper blue, a sign of skepticism. She had learned. "These readings mirror quantum fold resonance patterns," the second observer said. "A phenomenon your species should not be capable of generating." Alina kept her expression neutral. "I'm not familiar with that term. Perhaps you could explain it to us." so we can avoid such readings in the future. The observers declined to elaborate, but before leaving, the taller one added, "The wayfinder is calibrated appropriately for your developmental stage. Attempting to exceed its parameters would be unwise." As soon as they left, Elena called an emergency meeting with her team. "They're monitoring us more closely than we thought," she told them in the secure underground lab. "And they're worried." "That's good news, right?" Kai asked. "It means we're onto something significant." "It means we need to be more careful," Maya countered. "If they realize what we're doing, they might take the wayfinder back." Elena paced the room, thinking, "They won't. They can't without admitting they gave us technology with hidden capabilities they're clearly afraid of us discovering." She stopped, facing her team. "But we need to understand exactly what they're afraid of before we proceed further." For the next week, Elena's team worked more carefully, utilizing electromagnetic shielding to mask their experiments from Concordat sensors. Meanwhile, Elena used her position to extract more information from their alien visitors. During an official progress report, she casually asked Valerian about the Concordat's faster-than-light travel methods. "The stellar wayfinder does not possess such capability," Valerian replied, the translator's tone flat. "Such technology would be inappropriate for a species at your stage of development." "Of course," Elena nodded. "I was merely curious about the principles. Our theoretical physicists have proposed various methods: wormhole manipulation, Alcubierre drives, quantum entanglement networks." At the mention of quantum entanglement, Valerian's skin rippled visibly. "Such approaches have proven problematic for most species," the alien said after a pause. "The Concordat utilizes stable, proven methods developed over millennia." Elena filed away this reaction, continuing her questioning with innocuous topics. Later, she shared her observations with the team. "They have a specific aversion to quantum entanglement as a propulsion method," she explained. "And based on our scans of their ships, they use what appears to be a conventional fold drive, bending space in a controlled manner to reduce distances. That aligns with their limitations on the wayfinder," Aiden noted. "The governor systems specifically prevent the quantum core from achieving entanglement states." Leonid, who had been studying the ship's material properties, added, "The programmable hull is designed to create a stable field during spacefolding. But there's a subsystem that actively prevents quantum resonance from building up." "They're treating quantum resonance like it's dangerous," Maya observed. "Like it's something to be avoided at all costs." Kai, who had been quiet, looked up from his equations. "What if it's not dangerous? What if it's just different?" He projected a new simulation onto the main display. "Look at these patterns. When quantum particles resonate in phase across dimensional boundaries, conventional models predict instability, what the Concordat would call dangerous." "But your model shows something else," Elena said, studying the projection. "They show emergence," Kai replied. "New properties arising from complexity. The Concordat's technology is based on controlling and limiting quantum effects. What if there's another approach? What if instead of fighting quantum uncertainty, we embrace it?" The idea was radical, running counter to the Concordat's entire technological philosophy. But it aligned perfectly with Elena's controversial theories about quantum field manipulation. "That's it," she whispered, excitement building. "They didn't give us a primitive ship. They gave us a ship built on principles they understand and can control. They never imagined we would take a completely different approach." Over the next month, Elena's team worked on a new theory. Rather than using the quantum core to fold space in the controlled manner the Concordat employed, they would use it to induce controlled quantum resonance, creating a state where particles existed simultaneously across multiple points in spacetime. The official research team continued making steady, expected progress, keeping the increasingly suspicious Concordat observers occupied. Meanwhile, Elena's group made breakthrough after breakthrough in their understanding of quantum resonance. "The key is coherence," Kai explained during one late-night session. "The Concordat technology fights to maintain separation between quantum states. We need to achieve the opposite, a harmonic resonance that creates coherence across multiple points in spacetime, like turning a barrier into a bridge, Elena said, understanding immediately. They modified their replica of the quantum core, removing not just the governors, but reimagining the entire operational principle. Instead of suppressing resonance, their version would amplify it in controlled patterns. 3 months after the Wayfinder's arrival, they were ready for the critical test. This time, they took extraordinary precautions, building a Faraday cage around their lab, and timing the test to coincide with a scheduled maintenance period when the Concordat observers would be absent. Final checks complete, Maya announced. Quantum resonance chamber is stable. Field generators aligned. Elena looked at each member of her team. Whatever happens next changes everything we understand about physics and our place in the universe. Are we ready for that? They nodded, faces resolute. Initiating sequence, Aiden said, activating the modified core. The device hummed to life, emitting the now familiar blue glow. As power levels increased, the air around the core began to shimmer with impossible geometries. 100% of baseline, 200%, 300%. Aiden called out. At 350%, the Faraday cage itself began to vibrate. Quantum coherence forming. Kai reported, eyes fixed on his readouts. The field is stable, but it's exhibiting properties I've never seen before. At 400%, reality seemed to blur around the core. Objects within the resonance field appeared to exist in multiple states simultaneously, solid yet transparent, present yet distant. 500%, Aiden announced, his voice hushed with awe. A perfect sphere of blue-white light expanded from the core, engulfing the equipment and team members. Inside this field, Elena felt that strange sensation again, of being everywhere and nowhere, of consciousness expanded beyond physical boundaries. Through the luminous sphere, she could see elsewhere. Not just other locations, but other possibilities, as if reality itself had suddenly revealed its multiple dimensions. For 30 seconds, they maintained the field. Then, following the test protocol, Aiden gradually reduced power. The sphere contracted, the multiple states collapsed, and reality reasserted its familiar form. The team stood in silence, processing what they had witnessed. Finally, Leonid spoke, his voice barely above a whisper. We just invented a new form of space travel. They barely had time to document their results before alarms blared throughout the facility. The main doors to their lab slid open, revealing Valerian and 3 other Concordat representatives, flanked by facility security. What have you done? Valerian demanded, its skin cycling through colors Elena had never seen before, oranges and reds that seemed to indicate extreme agitation. Do you understand the danger you've created? Elena stepped forward. We've removed the artificial limitations you placed on the Wayfinder's technology. We've discovered what you were hiding from us. Those limitations exist for the safety of all species, Valerian insisted. Quantum resonance destabilizes the fabric of reality itself. It is prohibited throughout the Concordat for good reason. You mean it's prohibited because you can't control it? Elena countered. Because it works differently than your established technology. The confrontation escalated as more officials arrived, including representatives from Earth's governments. The Concordat demanded all research be halted immediately, claiming the humans were meddling with forces beyond their understanding. Your species is not ready for such technology, Valerian insisted during an emergency council meeting. You are still too impulsive, too prone to taking unnecessary risks. That's precisely why we succeeded where you failed, Elena replied, standing her ground before the assembled diplomats and officials. Your civilization has become so focused on stability and control that you've stopped exploring alternatives. You gave us your simplest ship thinking. We would spend decades just learning to operate it within your constraints. Instead, she continued, we discovered the constraints, removed them, and found a completely new approach in less than 4 months. Not because we're more advanced, but because we think differently. We embrace uncertainty. We see possibility where you see danger. The debate raged for days, with the Concordat threatening to withdraw from Earth entirely if the quantum resonance research continued. Earth's governments, initially alarmed, began to see the strategic implications of Elena's discoveries. Wallace, who had skeptically approved Elena's secret team months earlier, now became her strongest advocate in the political arena. The Concordat didn't come here to welcome us as equals, he argued in closed sessions with world leaders. They came to assess and contain us, to ensure we developed along approved paths that wouldn't challenge their established order. A week after the successful test, a compromise was reached. Elena's team would continue their research under joint human Concordat supervision. The aliens would share their knowledge of quantum physics to help ensure safety, while the humans would advance their new approach to space travel. In private, Valerian confronted Elena one final time. "You cannot imagine the forces you are tampering with," the alien warned. "Your species thinks on too short a timescale. You don't consider the long-term consequences." Elena studied the alien diplomat, seeing not superiority now but genuine concern, perhaps even fear. "That's humanity's greatest strength and our greatest weakness," she acknowledged. "We leap before looking sometimes, but that's how we've survived on a planet that's tried to kill us at every turn. That's how we've advanced from stone tools to quantum physics in the blink of an evolutionary eye." She gestured toward the modified core prototype. "You see danger in uncertainty. We see opportunity. Perhaps both perspectives have value." Valerian was silent for a long moment. "The Concordat has existed for 50,000 of your years," it finally said. "In all that time, no species has ever approached quantum technology the way yours has. It is unsettling." "Get used to it," Elena replied with a small smile. "We're just getting started." As Valerian departed, Elena turned her attention to the next phase, adapting their discoveries to the actual wayfinder. With the reluctant cooperation of the Concordat, they would transform the vessel from a limited training tool into something unprecedented, a ship capable of traveling through space in ways the Concordat had never imagined. The question that kept Elena awake at night wasn't whether they could succeed. It was what they would find when they ventured beyond the boundaries the Concordat had established, out into a universe that might be far stranger and more wonderful than even their alien visitors had realized. Beyond the boundaries. The day of the test flight dawned clear and cold. 6 months had passed since the Wayfinder's arrival on Earth, and in that time, everything had changed. The modified vessel sat on the launch pad, outwardly identical to its original form but internally transformed. The quantum resonance drive that Elena's team had developed now formed its heart, surrounded by systems redesigned to work with the new propulsion method rather than against it. A crowd of officials, scientists, and diplomats stood at a safe distance behind barriers. The Concordat representatives had positioned themselves furthest away, their vessel hovering high in the atmosphere, a precaution they had insisted upon despite the human assurances of safety. Inside the ship, Elena ran through final checks with her team. Maya at navigation, Aiden on propulsion, Leonid monitoring the hull's integrity, and Kai tracking the quantum field dynamics. After months of theoretical work, simulations, and ground tests, this would be the moment of truth. "All systems show nominal," Maya reported. "Pre-flight diagnostics complete." Elena nodded, feeling the weight of the moment. "Concordat control. This is Wayfinder. We are ready to initiate launch sequence." After a pause, Valerian's voice came through the comm system. "Wayfinder, we register your status. Be advised that the Concordat maintains its formal protest against this test. Proceed at your own risk." Elena exchanged glances with her team. The alien worry had become a familiar refrain over the past months. Despite their reluctant cooperation, the Concordat representatives never lost an opportunity to warn about the dangers of quantum resonance technology. Acknowledged Concordat control. Beginning launch sequence. Unlike conventional rockets with their fire and thunder, the Wayfinder rose silently from the pad, the only indication of its advanced propulsion being a soft blue glow that surrounded the vessel. It ascended smoothly through the atmosphere, leaving Earth behind in minutes rather than the staged approach of traditional spacecraft. Approaching synchronous orbit, Maya announced, all systems functioning perfectly. Elena felt a surge of pride. Already, they had validated their approach, achieving orbit with a fraction of the energy expenditure of conventional systems. Phase 1 complete, she said into the comm. Preparing for lunar transit test. This would be their first real trial, using the modified drive to travel to the moon without the long journey traditional spacecraft required. According to their calculations, the quantum resonance field would create a form of transit entirely different from the Concordat's space-folding technique. Activating quantum resonance drive. Aiden reported, his hands moving across the redesigned controls. Field generators powering up. The familiar blue glow intensified around the ship. On their monitoring screens, they could see the quantum field expanding, creating that strange state of multiple overlapping realities. Field stabilized at 30% capacity, Kai called out. Coherence patterns forming. Elena took a deep breath. Initiate transit sequence. For a heartbeat, everything seemed to stop. The stars visible through the viewports smeared into lines, then resolved into completely different configurations. The Earth vanished from their view, replaced instantly by the stark gray surface of the moon, now filling their viewport. Transit complete, Maya whispered, checking her instruments. We're in lunar orbit. Transit time, 1.3 seconds. Elena allowed herself a moment of silent exultation. What should have been a 3-day journey had happened in the blink of an eye. But this was just the beginning. Concordat control. This is Wayfinder. Lunar transit successful. Preparing for Phase 3. There was a longer pause before Valerian's response came through, its translator unable to fully mask the tension in its voice. Wayfinder, our sensors indicate you utilized an uncontrolled quantum resonance field for your transit. This violates all Concordat safety protocols. Return to Earth immediately. Elena looked at her team, seeing the same determination in their eyes that she felt. They had come too far to turn back now. Negative, Concordat control. We are proceeding with Phase 3 as planned. Phase 3 was what the Concordat feared most, a long-range transit beyond Earth's solar system. According to the star charts the aliens had provided, the nearest star with a habitable planet was Proxima Centauri, 4.2 light-years away. Using conventional Concordat-fold technology, such a journey would take months. Elena's team believed they could make it in seconds. Recalibrating quantum field for deep space transit, Kai announced. Targeting Proxima Centauri system. Hull integrity optimal, Leonid reported. Programmable matrix aligned with resonance field. Drive capacity at 60%, Aiden added. Field coherence increasing. The Wayfinder hummed with energy as the quantum resonance built toward the critical threshold. Outside, the lunar landscape began to shimmer, as if viewed through rippling water. Wayfinder, this is Concordat primary vessel. A new voice broke in. Not Valerian, but someone with higher authority. You are attempting a transit that could destabilize the fabric of space-time itself. Stand down immediately, or we will be forced to intervene. Elena ignored the warning. Initiate deep space transit sequence. This time, the transition was more intense. The quantum field expanded to encompass the entire ship, creating that strange sensation of being everywhere and nowhere simultaneously. For what seemed like both an eternity and an instant, Elena felt her consciousness spread across vast distances, perceiving multiple realities overlaid upon each other. Then reality snapped back into focus, and through the viewports, they saw an unfamiliar star blazing against the blackness of space. Where Earth's sun was yellow-white, this one glowed with a reddish light. Transit complete, Maya announced, her voice colored with awe. Confirming position. We're in the Proxima Centauri system. Transit time, 8.6 seconds. The achievement was staggering. They had just traveled 4.2 light-years, a distance that light itself took over 4 years to cross, in less than 10 seconds. "We did it," Aiden whispered. "We actually did it." But Elena was looking at another reading on their instruments. "This isn't what the Concordat star charts showed," she said, studying the sensor data. "According to their information, Proxima Centauri has one habitable planet in a close orbit. We're detecting 3 planets, all with signs of habitability." Kai moved to her side, examining the readings. "The quantum resonance might have affected our sensors, or the Concordat charts are deliberately incomplete," Elena finished. They spent the next hour in orbit around Proxima Centauri, gathering data that contradicted multiple aspects of the information the Concordat had provided. Not only were there more habitable planets than reported, but the entire system showed signs of artificial structures, evidence of an advanced civilization that had not been mentioned in any Concordat briefing. "They've been hiding things from us," Leonid said, reviewing the scan data. "But why?" Before they could investigate further, their communication system activated. "Wayfinder, this is the Proxima Governing Council," a new voice announced, speaking perfect English. "We detect Concordat technology, but non-Concordat quantum signatures. Identify yourselves." Elena exchanged startled glances with her team before responding. "This is Dr. Elena Reyes of Earth. We are conducting the first test flight of our modified quantum resonance drive." There was a pause before the reply came. "Earth is not in our records as a Concordat member. Your arrival is unexpected and most interesting." Over the next hour, they learned the truth that the Concordat had concealed. The galaxy was not the unified, peaceful domain they had described. The Proxima civilization was one of many that existed outside Concordat influence, developing technologies and approaches the Concordat had deemed too dangerous or unpredictable. "The Concordat fears what it cannot control," explained the Proximan representative, a being named Ilara who communicated via holographic projection. "They particularly fear quantum resonance technology, which we and other independent systems have developed over centuries." "Why?" Elena asked. "What makes it so threatening to them?" "Because it undermines their entire model of reality," Ilara replied. "The Concordat built its civilization on predictability and control. Quantum resonance introduces an element of fundamental uncertainty they cannot accept. It allows travel not just through space, but through possibility, accessing realities their rigid systems cannot reach." As they spoke with Ilara, urgent messages arrived from Earth. The Concordat vessels had entered a state of high alert, and their communications expressed something close to panic. "You must return immediately," Wallace's message read. "The Concordat is threatening to quarantine Earth entirely. They're claiming your transit has created a dimensional instability that threatens the region." Elena wasn't surprised. "They're afraid of what we've discovered," she told her team. "Not just the technology, but the truth about the galaxy." After exchanging contact information with the Proximans and promising future communication, they prepared for the return transit. "Setting coordinates for Earth," Maya announced. "Quantum field generators ready." The return journey took mere seconds, but they emerged to find the situation drastically changed. The Concordat vessels had positioned themselves in a defensive formation around Earth, and military forces worldwide were on high alert. Elena's team was met on the landing pad by Wallace and a contingent of government officials. The mood was tense but not hostile, toward them, at least. "You've stirred up quite the diplomatic incident," Wallace told Elena as they walked toward the debriefing facility. "The Concordat is demanding we surrender the Wayfinder and all research materials. They're claiming you violated some interstellar law about unauthorized transit." "They're not angry because we broke their rules," Elena replied.